What's up everybody, Super Dorks fan here for another car review. This is of course the 1992 Ford Mustang GT. Huge thanks to Michael for allowing me to review his awesome Fox body here for you guys today. So about the 1992, we're right at the end of the tail end of the Fox bodies here, and it looks really cool. I love this two-tone, and the aero kits that they gave it here for some of these last model years looks really cool. And especially now, you know, they're getting more and more popular, and I think that the looks are growing on more people because these are so popular these days, and we'll hopefully find out, you know, if they're just as much fun to drive as everyone says. But as far as the looks go, I think it's really cool now. And as the years have progressed, I think it's looked a little bit cooler now than it did, you know, 10 years ago whenever they were out of fashion. And I think it looks really good. It has had a repaint, but it's in immaculate condition, as you can see. And I love, you know, all the little features that you don't really see unless you look at these close up, like the little vents here in front of the front bumper there, and you know, the spoiler in the back and the louvered taillights. And just overall, it's just a really cool package. Very 90s, but I love it. I think it's really cool. Right, for the interior of the 1992 Ford Mustang GT, well, it's, you know, pretty cool actually for, I mean, again, this is a car from 1992, so the plastics and stuff will cut it a break. But anyway, first things first, sitting down in these seats, they're actually really nice. You know, they have a good thigh bolster here, and even the torso support is pretty good. And there even is lumbar support, which is pretty cool for a car from this time. And so, they actually feel pretty good. They're interesting with the contour and stuff, but it's just a little bit different, but they actually feel nice and they hug you in well. Next is the steering wheel in the Mustang Fox body here, which is your typical, you know, late 80s, early 90s Ford steering wheel for the most part. Thin rimmed wheel, but it actually does have a nice 9-3 grip. And otherwise, you know, just nice smooth leather. The wheel has been replaced, but it's still OEM in its specifications here, and actually feels really nice in your hands. Next is the gauges in the Fox body here, which are, you know, your cool typical gauges. Thankfully, this is 1992, so it does not have the speedometer. It only goes up to 85. This one goes up to 140, like a Mustang should. And yeah, I mean, just the basic gauges, nothing you don't need there, but all very clear, easy to read, and they look pretty good. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here, it's you know, just the basic stuff you need here. You have the climate controls that are you know, about as high quality as you would expect for a Ford from this time, but you know, they get the job done. That's all you need. He did obviously swap out the head unit here to a nicer one, so you know, otherwise you'd have a typical Ford head unit from 1992. But yeah, that obviously is an easy upgrade and definitely a huge improvement. As far as storage space in the Fox body here, well, this one has the map pocket delete kit because that likes to fall apart according to the owner, so he deleted that. Otherwise there would be a map pocket here, but otherwise there is no storage in the door. Coming over to the center here though, you do have this little cubby here under the head unit, thanks to it being a slimmer head unit. The standard head unit wouldn't have that space there, of course. You would lose that, but there is some storage up top here by the dashboard that's got kind of grooved, and you can fit some smaller knickknacks in there as well. And then there used to be an ashtray in here that has fallen apart, so he's just covered that up there. But nice big space there for if you're looking at a Mustang that does still have that. And then you have the center armrest, which actually has a little bit of padding to it, so it's, you know, not super hard to rest your elbow on. Feels pretty decent. And then you open that up, and you have a nice little bit of storage space there, and you can fit some tapes, as you can see the grooves in there for that, and that's a nice little space nonetheless. And you can even lift it up, and you have some additional little cutouts there to put some stuff. And so yeah, you know, not a ton, but again, you know, for a car of this time, about standard. And that's also goes for, you know, the fact there is no cup holders. He's added his little window mounted cup holder there, but it does have, you know, nice things like the power windows and locks and nice stuff like that. But I mean, otherwise, it sounds nice and simple. Everything you need, really, and that's about it. Backseat space in the Fox body Mustangs here. is pretty tight. I mean, it works in a pinch though. You know, there is enough room back there to squeeze someone, but I don't know if you want to use it on a regular basis. But it is nice, and those rear seats do fold down. So going into the trunk area, you know, if the Fox body's here, you have a nice large hatch area that makes it very versatile, and especially you fold those seats flat. The owner said he actually even slept in the back there, so it's a very usable space. And so yeah, pretty nice that they thought to do that here for the Fox body. It's a really cool idea. Shifter in the Fox body here too is much like the old school style manual transmissions, where it's kind of crooked in the way that it comes out there. It's not a perfectly straight shift lever, but it's really cool, and again, it adds to the muscle car vibe, of course, of the Mustangs. And a nice 5-speed unit there, and you know, nicely positioned as well. It's a little bit of a reach, it's a little bit farther away, but it's actually a pretty nice setup there, and you know, that way you don't have to worry about bumping into anything. And so yeah, pretty nice. All right, so let's take it for a drive here. Ford, of course, 1992. You just got a good old key, slip it into the slot, put your foot on the very heavy clutch, reverse to life. All right, so setting off in the 1992 Ford Mustang GT. So first thing, this clutch lets off really close to the top, so that's a difference from all the newer cars which normally let out right at the bottom there. Other things you notice though, the clutch is very heavy. Honestly, this is the heaviest clutch I've ever used in my life. So if you have weak legs, you may want to bulk up a little bit on your leg presses before you buy one of these. But other things to note, the shifter is very notchy, and you feel exactly what gear you're in, but definitely takes some muscle. Again, it's like, it's an old school kind of feeling to it for sure, and feels pretty good. Otherwise though, you know, just going down the road here, visibility is very good. You know, you got a good view forward. The hood comes up a little bit high, but it's not too bad at all. You can see out very well. The B pillar's way far back there, so you can see out of the side very well, and view out of the back is great too. Alright, so let's turn on this back right here and see how it does. Woohoo! Back end likes to dance! Alright! Alright, so that's pretty good power. So this 302 V8, 5 liters, does 225 horsepower and about almost 300 pound-feet of torque here. So pretty strong for a car back then. I mean, everything was so choked out that that's a pretty respectable amount of power back then. And so it's got good torque here though, especially, you know, you can just keep it in the lower RPMs, of course. This old school V8 loves, you know, having the torquey low end there. But it does rev all the way up to 6,000 if you like. So yeah, it's definitely different though. This is one of the more challenging cars to drive that I've ever reviewed, that is for sure. So you have to, and there's of course no ABS, no traction control, so you have to know how to drive. It's you know, definitely not a car that's going to take care of you. You have to, you know, make sure you're judicial and know what you're doing. That sound is fantastic though. So he has headers and exhaust on this in addition to an intake as well, and so it sounds really great. I mean, that classic old school V8 sound that everyone loves. Yeah, it's nice once you get used to it. It's just a shock factor at first, especially I just got out of a Honda Prelude, which is a polar opposite to this, and so it's different, but it's great. I mean, throttle response is really sharp. You know, I love not having drive-by-wire here in this old school stuff. The old school throttle just feels great. The brakes have a little bit of travel, but again, we're talking about a car with 200,000 miles. By the way, he's never opened up this motor, and it's still, you know, pulling like a bear here. The ride is also really smooth and pretty comfortable here. Oh, that's great though. It's so raw feeling, and hearing that V8, it's just great. I mean, this is probably the cheapest way to get this awesome sound, and you can't go wrong with it. It's just gotta have a little bit of muscle there to drive this car, but once you get it down, I mean, I've only been driving for about 5 minutes or so, and I'm already getting used to, you know, how the clutch feels and everything, so it's definitely easy to get used to. Just something you gotta get over in the first few minutes, and then you're good. Another corner here. Yeah, actually, you know, it feels pretty nice and flat. These Fox bodies are surprisingly lightweight. This one, I think, weighs around 3,100 pounds, so it's fairly lightweight, lighter than most other Mustangs, and so it doesn't feel like there's a lot of heft to throw around in corners, so it actually is very effortless in the way that it handles. I'm kind of shocked at just how docile it is. I thought it'd be a real bear around corners, but it's not. The brakes are definitely something you don't want to lean on all the time though, but again, Mustangs aren't built for stopping, especially back then, so it's just something you have to be kind of pre-think and pre-plan your corners and stuff, and just kind of ease through them, and it handles it just fine. Another nice thing about this is, you know, sometimes the Mustangs feel kind of big going down the road, but this actually doesn't feel that big. It's pretty easy to keep in its lane, even on slightly narrower roads like this, and it's actually fairly easy to drive once you're up and running. Another acceleration. Yeah, it pulls strong. Honestly, this feels faster than 225 horsepower for sure. And it's just probably a lot of the drama and also the high amount of torque that you do have, which really helps a lot. Another thing that really helps to make this one feel a little peppier is he did swap out the 273 gears for 373s, so definitely makes it a lot more fun, and I think goes a long way to make this feel faster with the amount of power it has. Just calming down though now, just cruising here in 5th gear. It's just a really nice cruiser, you know? I mean, it's a little bit floaty at times, but again, you're not dealing with a little Honda Civic, so it's not going to, you know, feel as buttoned down as some other stuff. But again, you're talking about an old school muscle car here, and so I still think it's a phenomenal bang for your buck. I mean, these are dirt cheap, and the amount of fun you can have and the amount of customization you can do with the huge aftermarket on these, it's a really great platform for those that, you know, want something really affordable and still want some fun and still want a great V8 sound. Got some tighter corners here. It's pretty good. I mean, I don't think this would be, you know, the best pick for an autocross car or something like that, but it does handle pretty good. You just have to, you know, take it easy. This car is best driven, I think, you know, like 5/10 or so. Nice little acceleration blast. But again, this is a muscle car still, and this is back whenever they weren't trying to be a sports car. They were just a good old muscle car. You know, pretty cruise suspension setup, but you got a great V8 sound. You got the good looks, and it still handles, you know, well enough. But again, this is definitely not your backroads carver, but that's okay because it handles it, you know, well enough. You know, have a fun backroads drive. You know, relaxing on a Sunday like we're doing right now, and really great thing. It's so funny, you know, coming out of stuff like the Prelude or, you know, newer things, just how different in feel this is. But it's just different flavors, and it's so great how in the car world here we have great options, you know, for every enthusiast. Whether you want a V8, you want a 4-cylinder, you want front-wheel drive, you want rear-wheel drive, you can get it all for less than $5 grand and still have a blast and everything. And that's just, it's really awesome. So I love having such opposite cars to review back to back. It's really great. Two other things I want to note real quick in this video is that this one does have lowering springs, which have helped to kind of button it down a little bit and make it a little less floaty than it was, you know, from the factory. But it actually is still surprisingly smooth on these springs. That's amazing how buttery smooth the ride is. And the other thing I want to mention is that the steering has a really nice feel to it, and although it's a tad bit floaty, it has a really nice weight. And of course, being, you know, old school in its feel, it just has a really good feedback of, you know, what the front wheels are doing, and so it feels really nice. I mean, it's just, I love how raw everything feels in these. One last acceleration. Oh, that's fun. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on the Fox Body Mustangs here, and huge thanks to Michael for allowing me to review his pristine one. Again, 203,000 miles on this motor, hasn't had anything done to it really, and so that just goes to show that they're very reliable motor-wise. They can be a little bit temperamental and, you know, the other things, but as far as the, you know, mechanics and stuff, it's solid. So really another great reliable choice for those looking, you know, for something affordable. So yeah, once again, huge thanks to Michael, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.